The great auction hall floated above the surface of a glowing blue planet. The place was huge, filled with sounds of alien voices, trading numbers, and the hum of hovering lights. Traders and collectors from many worlds had gathered there. Some came for strange crystals, some for ancient machines, and others for living beings taken from faraway planets. Among the crowd walked Rian, a human engineer from Earth. His simple jacket and calm face looked strange among the rich buyers with bright clothes and strange shapes. He was not there to buy anything. His ship had stopped near this planet for supplies, and he had entered the hall out of curiosity. He wanted to see what kind of business the galaxy called fair trade. Rian kept his hands behind his back as he walked past cages of glowing animals and boxes of old tools. A small alien merchant tried to sell him a floating orb, saying it could show dreams. Rian smiled politely and moved on. The place made him uncomfortable. He had seen greed before, but here it was mixed with power. Everything had a price, even life. The announcer, a tall being with metal skin, called out in a loud voice, "Next we have the last lot of the day. A rare capture from the ruins of the Shaylin sector. Strong, intelligent, and untamed." The crowd turned as the lights dimmed. A beam of white light appeared on the stage, and within it stood a young alien girl. Her skin shimmered faintly like silver dust, and her eyes glowed with soft blue light. She wore simple cloth around her, and a metal band locked around her wrists. The hall went silent. The announcer continued, "This being has refused to speak or obey. She destroyed 3 control devices. Her strength is unknown, but we believe she could be trained or studied. Starting price 200 units, no one moved. The crowd murmured, "She looks dangerous. Not worth the risk. Too wild. No use for science or service." The announcer raised his tone. "Anyone? 200 units. A rare find. Last chance of the day." Still no one spoke. Rian watched quietly. The girl stood tall and still, her eyes moving across the faces before her. There was no fear, only calm defiance. She was not broken. Something about her spirit struck him deeply. She reminded him of the stories his mother once told about freedom and dignity. Minutes passed and the announcer sighed. "No bidders? Then she will be sent for containment study." Ryan's heart felt heavy. He knew what that meant. She would not survive that. He looked around. Everyone had already turned away. He took a slow breath and raised his hand. "One bid," he said simply. The room went quiet again. Every face turned toward him. The announcer blinked. "The human bids. Confirmed? 200 units." Rian nodded once. "Confirmed." The announcer looked surprised, but rules were rules. "Very well. Sold to the human." He struck the metal block with his hammer and the sound echoed through the hall. The guards looked confused but followed orders. They released the girl from the light cage and brought her toward Rian. Her eyes never left him. She seemed curious, maybe even suspicious. Rian signed the document, paid the credits, and took the release token. As the guards handed her over, one of them whispered, "Be careful, human. That one does not obey anyone." Rian gave a calm smile. "Then I will not ask her to obey." They left the hall together. The crowd's whispers followed them until the door closed behind. Outside, the night sky of the planet stretched wide and full of color. Floating ships passed above, leaving trails of light. Rian led her toward the docking area where his small ship waited. He stopped and turned to her. "My name is Rian," he said softly. "You do not have to come with me if you do not want to. But this planet is not safe for you." The alien girl said nothing. Her glowing eyes studied him carefully. Then she spoke, her voice quiet but firm. "Why did you buy me?" Rian hesitated. "Because no one else should own you." She looked at him, uncertain. The translator band on her wrist flickered with light as it processed his words. "Humans trade too." "You are different?" "Maybe," Rian said. "Maybe not. But I believe freedom should not be sold." She tilted her head slightly. "Freedom. A strange word here." He nodded. "I know." She did not speak again. She followed him silently to the ship. When they reached the ramp, Rian opened the hatch and gestured inside. "You can rest here. There is food and water. I will not harm you." The girl stepped in slowly, her movements graceful but alert. She looked around the small ship. It was clean but simple. One main room, a control seat, and 2 sleeping corners. The soft hum of the engine filled the air. Rian checked the flight panel. "We will leave soon," he said. "I can take you anywhere you want to go." She turned her eyes toward the stars visible through the glass window. "Anywhere does not exist for me," she said softly. Rian looked at her with quiet sadness. "Then we will find somewhere new." He started the engines and the ship lifted off from the platform. The city lights below became small dots as they rose into the sky. The girl stood near the window, her hand resting on the glass. "My people called the stars our home once," she said. "Before war came." Ryan listened. "Do you remember your world?" She nodded faintly. "I remember the rivers that sang and the trees that glowed at night. I remember the wind that carried the scent of peace. Now it is gone," Ryan said softly. "Sometimes memories are the first step to building again." She looked at him, unsure what to think. "You speak like someone who is lost too." He smiled sadly. "Everyone loses something, but we can still choose what we become after that." For the first time, her expression softened a little. She sat down near the control deck and watched him guide the ship into orbit. Hours passed in quiet travel. The stars stretched like long lines of light as the ship entered warp speed. Ryan worked silently, checking instruments. The girl remained near, studying every move. At last she spoke again. "You do not ask my name." "I will when you are ready to tell me," Ryan replied. She thought for a moment. "My name is Arya," Ryan nodded. "It is a beautiful name." Arya looked away, hiding a small smile. "It means Song of Light in my language." He smiled too. "Then it suits you." They traveled in silence again. The hum of the ship was calm. Ryan showed her the food unit and water dispenser. She tried a few small bites, unsure of the taste but grateful for the offer. When she finished, Ryan gave her a soft blanket. "You can rest here," he said, pointing to the small bed corner. "The door locks from inside if you wish privacy." Arya hesitated, then took the blanket. "Thank you, human." Ryan, he corrected gently. "Just Ryan." She nodded once. Later, as the ship drifted quietly through the dark, Ryan sat at the control desk. He looked at the sleeping corner where Arya rested. She had finally fallen asleep, her silver skin glowing faintly under the ship's lights. He sighed softly. He did not know what would come next. He only knew he could not let her be treated like a thing. Somewhere deep inside, he felt this decision would change his life in ways he could not yet see. Far outside, the stars burned bright and endless. The next morning, Arya woke to the soft sound of the ship's navigation system. Ryan was already working, checking the coordinates. She watched quietly before speaking. "Where are we going now?" "There is a neutral station nearby," he replied. "We can get supplies. After that, we will decide together." "Together," she repeated. The word felt strange but not unpleasant. Ryan turned to her. "You do not have to trust me yet. I know what your people went through, but I will not harm you." Arya studied him for a long moment. "You are very strange, Ryan." He laughed softly. "I hear that a lot." Her lips curved slightly, almost a smile. Outside the window, a new light appeared, a sun rising over a distant planet. Arya walked closer to the glass and placed her hand against it again. "It is beautiful," she said quietly. "Yes," Ryan said. "Every sunrise is a promise." "A promise of what?" "That something better can begin again." Arya said nothing. But for the first time, her eyes looked calm, not guarded. The ship flew on toward the golden horizon, carrying two souls from different worlds, one seeking freedom, the other trying to give it. Neither knew what awaited them ahead, but both felt that something had changed the moment that hammer struck in the auction hall. A strange bond had begun, built not from ownership or fear, but from a small act of kindness in a place where kindness was rare. And for Rian, that was enough reason to keep going. The stars outside the ship stretched like silver lines as Ryan guided the vessel through quiet space. The hum of the engines was steady and soft. Arya sat near the side window, watching the endless darkness dotted with light. She looked calm, but her eyes held a question that words could not express. Ryan had not spoken much since they left the planet. He did not want to push her to talk. He knew that trust could not be forced. He worked on the ship's control panel, checking systems and energy lines. From time to time he glanced at her, trying to understand what she might be thinking. After some time he broke the silence. "Are you feeling better now?" Arya turned toward him slowly. "Better," she said in a quiet voice. "But I do not understand you." Ryan smiled faintly. "Many people say that. You could have left me there, she continued. You could have walked away like the others. I could have, Ryan said. But I did not want to. Why? She asked again. Humans care about profit. You spent your money for nothing. He leaned back in his chair. Not for nothing. I bought a life. That means something to me. Arya studied him with her glowing blue eyes. You speak of life as if it has value here. In most worlds I have seen, it does not. That is true, Ryan admitted. But I try to live differently. She looked away, unsure how to reply. For a long time, only the sound of the engines filled the air. When the ship's system beeped, Ryan checked the screen. We are near a small trading post, he said. I need to fix a damaged energy coil and refill water. You can stay inside or come with me. It is a peaceful place, Arya hesitated. If they see me, they will ask questions. I will handle it, Ryan said. You can wear a cloak, she nodded slowly. Very well. I will go, Ryan smiled. Good. Maybe a walk will help. They landed the ship on a small metallic platform floating near a quiet moon. The trading post was small but busy. Robots moved between stalls carrying crates. The air was filled with the smell of machine oil and sweet fruit. Ryan walked ahead, buying supplies while Arya followed, wearing a long gray cloak. Her glowing skin was hidden, but her alert eyes took in everything. The different species, the sound of deals, and the constant movement. At one stall, a merchant greeted them warmly. Welcome, traveler. Need parts or information? Energy coils, Ryan said. The merchant looked through his stock. You are lucky. Last pair left. While they talked, a group of miners nearby laughed loudly. One of them noticed Arya. Hey, stranger, where are you from? Arya said nothing. Her gaze was sharp but calm. Ryan stepped forward politely. She is with me. We are travelers just passing by. The miner nodded, but curiosity still lingered in his eyes. Strange pair. Human and a silent one, Ryan smiled. Strange pairs make good stories. The miner laughed and turned away. After buying the parts, they walked back toward the ship. Arya finally spoke. You spoke for me without asking. Ryan looked at her carefully. Did I offend you? She shook her head. No, I am just not used to it. My people were strong once. We spoke for ourselves. Then we were taken. Ryan said softly, You do not have to be silent anymore. Arya looked at him, her eyes thoughtful. You speak as if freedom can be given. Not given, Ryan said. Only shared. She did not answer, but a small light of understanding passed across her face. When they returned to the ship, Ryan went to the engine room to replace the coil. Arya watched him work, curious about the tools. You fix machines, she said. Why? Because broken things can still work again, Ryan said. That sounds like something you believe for yourself, she replied quietly. Ryan smiled a little. Maybe. He showed her how the coils connected to the energy flow. Here, he said, handing her a small tool. Hold this. You can help me if you want. Arya hesitated, then took it. She watched carefully as he guided her hand. This connects the flow. When light passes through evenly, it means balance, he explained. She did it perfectly on the first try. The machine hummed smoothly. Ryan nodded. Good. You learn fast. Arya gave a small smile, the first true one since he met her. I watched. Observation is strength. Then you will be an engineer soon, Ryan said with a grin. I do not need a title, she replied, but I like to learn. Days passed and Arya began to move more freely around the ship. She no longer stayed silent all the time. She asked questions about stars, planets, and human customs. Ryan answered patiently, sometimes with a laugh. Once she asked, Why do humans explore space? You already have a world. Ryan thought for a moment. Because curiosity is in our nature. We always want to know what is beyond. Curiosity can be dangerous, she said. Yes, Ryan agreed, but it can also lead to hope. She looked out the window again, thinking about his words. Later that day, Ryan cooked a simple meal from dried vegetables and protein cubes. He placed a bowl near Arya. It is not special, but it fills the stomach, he said. She took a bite, then nodded. Better than ration food from war camps. Ryan looked at her quietly. You were in a camp? She nodded slowly. After the war, my people were captured. Many were taken to work in mines. I escaped, but I was caught again. Ryan said gently. You do not have to talk about it if you do not want to. I will tell you, she said after a pause. Because you asked with kindness. He listened silently. My people, the Shaylin, could sense energy in nature. We used it to grow plants and heal the land. But when war came, other species wanted that power. They said we were dangerous because we could not be controlled. They destroyed our home. Her voice trembled slightly, but she continued. I was one of the last taken. They wanted to use me to find other survivors. I refused. That is why they called me Untamable. Ryan's heart ached for her. You are not untamable, he said softly. You are strong. She looked at him with calm eyes. Strength means nothing when you have no place to stand. Ryan answered, Then we will find you one. She gave a faint smile. You speak as if hope is easy. It is not, Ryan said, but it keeps us alive. That night, while Ryan checked the outer sensors, a warning light flashed. A ship was approaching. It was small but armed. He opened the scanner and frowned. Pirates, he said quietly. Arya came to his side. How many? 3, he said. They will demand we hand over supplies. She looked calm. Will you fight? I would rather not, Ryan replied. Violence only brings more of it. She watched him press a few buttons, activating the defense shields. You are strange, she said. You bought me from an auction but do not want to harm anyone. Maybe that makes me foolish, he said. Or brave, she added softly. The pirate ship hailed them. A rough voice filled the cabin. Small vessel, stop engines. Hand over cargo and we let you go. Ryan answered calmly. We have nothing of value. We are travelers, the voice laughed. Every ship has something. Prepare to be boarded. Arya's hands glowed faintly. They will not stop. Ryan glanced at her. What are you doing? I can interfere with their sensors, she said. It will confuse them for a short time. He hesitated, then nodded. Do it, she closed her eyes. Her silver skin shimmered as she focused. The lights in the cabin flickered slightly, but the ship's system stayed stable. Moments later, the scanner showed the pirate ship changing direction. They cannot see us, Ryan said in surprise. Arya opened her eyes, breathing slowly. They will move away soon. He watched the scanner as the pirate ship turned and left. The danger was gone. Ryan looked at her with admiration. You saved us. I used what I know, she said simply. That is all, he smiled. Still, thank you. Arya looked down, then said quietly, You are welcome, Ryan. For a long moment, neither spoke. The soft hum of the ship filled the silence again. When they finally reached open space, Ryan set the ship on steady course. You should rest, he said. Arya nodded. And you? I will stay awake for a while. I have to check systems. She looked at him kindly. You help others, but who helps you? Ryan smiled faintly. Maybe one day someone will. She gave a quiet laugh, almost like a whisper of wind. Maybe that day is closer than you think. He looked at her, but she had already turned toward her small room. As she walked away, Ryan felt something he could not name. It was not fear or duty. It was a strange warmth, a sense of connection beyond words. Arya lay down on her bed, looking at the stars through the small window. For the first time in many years, she did not feel like a prisoner. She felt safe, and somewhere deep inside, she began to believe that maybe, just maybe, this human strange kindness could lead to something new. Not chains or fear, but a shared path under the same endless stars. Days turned into quiet weeks as Ryan's ship drifted across unknown routes of space. The stars outside never changed, yet everything inside the ship slowly did. When Arya first came aboard, she was silent and watchful. Now her silence had become softer, like a calm sea after a storm. She walked freely through the narrow corridors, touched the panels with curiosity, and sometimes asked gentle questions about the smallest things, how food machines worked, why stars looked different through the window, and what made a planet safe. Ryan answered every question with patience. He liked how her curiosity returned piece by piece. It reminded him of when he was young and dreamed of exploring space without fear. One morning, Ryan was fixing a damaged oxygen filter. He sat on the floor surrounded by wires and small tools. Arya came over and crouched beside him. You fix again, she said softly. He smiled. Machines always find new ways to break. She tilted her head slightly. And you always find new ways to fix, Ryan chuckled. That is my job. She watched him for a moment, then picked up a small tool. Can I help? He nodded. Sure, hold this here. Arya placed her hand carefully on the panel. Her touch was light, her focus sharp. Together they worked until the system's light turned green again. The air filter hummed smoothly. Rian looked at her with quiet pride. You learn fast, she gave a small smile. I learn because you teach, and because you do not shout when I fail, he said gently. Everyone fails. That is how we learn. She nodded, thoughtful. My people said failure is a shadow of success. You cannot see one without the other. I like that saying, Rian said. For a moment they simply sat in silence, listening to the hum of the ship. It was not the silence of fear anymore. It was the kind that carried comfort. Later that day they ate together. Ryan poured 2 cups of warm tea and passed one to her. This is from Earth, he said. We call it tea. My mother used to drink it when she watched the rain. Arya sniffed the cup, curious. Rain, she repeated. That word sounds soft. It is, he said with a smile. Rain is when water falls from the sky. It cools the air and feeds the land. We had something like that on my world, she said. Our rain glowed at night. It carried life energy. The rivers would shine for days after it fell. That sounds beautiful, Ryan said. She looked down at her cup. It was, I miss it. Ryan nodded. Maybe one day you will see something like it again. Arya's eyes softened. You speak like someone who believes in miracles. Sometimes, Ryan said. Space is full of them if we know where to look. That night, when Rian went to his cabin, he found Arya standing by the window looking at the stars. The light from her skin glowed faintly, reflecting against the glass. She did not notice he was there at first. What are you thinking about? He asked gently. She turned slightly. I was wondering if my people still exist somewhere. Maybe someone survived. Maybe they are searching for home too. Ryan stepped closer. If they are out there, they will find you one day. She looked at him with quiet hope. Do you really think so? I do, he said. Because you are not alone anymore. For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the quiet hum of the engines filled the space between them. Then Arya nodded slowly and whispered, Thank you. The next morning, the ship's communication system blinked with a soft alarm. A nearby transmission was repeating the same message over and over. Rian checked the signal. It is a distress call, he said. From where? Arya asked. Coordinates not far from here. It says a ship is damaged and losing power. Arya's expression turned serious. Will you help? Of course, Ryan said. Someone helped me once when I was stranded. I cannot ignore a call like this. Within an hour, they reached the location. A small freighter floated silently in the distance, its lights flickering. Ryan slowed his ship and opened the channel. This is the vessel, Saren. We received your distress call. Do you need assistance? A weak voice replied. Yes, please. Our engine is dead. Life support is failing. Hold on, Ryan said. We are coming to help. He guided the ship closer and connected the airlock. Arya followed him as they entered the damaged freighter. The air inside was cold and thin. 2 crew members, a young man and an elderly woman, were struggling to restart their systems. Rian knelt beside them and began checking the power core. The energy stabilizer is burned out, he said. I have a spare. The old woman looked weak. Can you fix it? I can, Ryan said calmly. Arya knelt beside the woman, offering her a water pouch. Drink this, she said softly. You will feel better. The woman hesitated, then accepted it with trembling hands. Thank you, child, Arya smiled kindly. You are welcome. Ryan worked for nearly an hour, replacing the stabilizer and recharging the power line. The lights flickered, then steadied. Warm air began to flow again. You did it, the young man said with relief. We owe you our lives, Rian smiled. Just promise to help someone else when you get the chance. They stayed for a short while longer, making sure everything worked. Before leaving, the elderly woman took Arya's hand. Your kindness will be remembered, she said. Arya nodded politely. I only did what was right. Back on their ship, as they left the freighter behind, Arya sat quietly in her chair. You helped them even though you did not know them, she said. Rian smiled. Helping strangers is what makes us human. She thought about his words. Then maybe my people were human too in their hearts. Ryan looked at her warmly. Maybe kindness is the language every world understands. That night, as the ship traveled on, Ryan found Arya sitting again by the window. She looked peaceful, but her eyes glowed with new thought. Ryan, she said softly. Yes? You said before that broken things can still work again. Do you think that is true for people too? He smiled gently. I think it is more true for people than for machines. She nodded slowly. Then maybe I can learn to live again. I think you already are, he said. Arya looked down, her fingers tracing the smooth edge of the glass. You are strange, Ryan. You do not try to own or command. You only help. That is rare. Maybe, he said with a small laugh, but I do not see another way to live. She smiled softly. Then maybe your way is better. The days that followed were peaceful. They worked together on the ship's garden unit, which grew small green plants in containers. Ryan explained how photosynthesis worked, and Arya told him how her people used light energy from the stars to grow food. When one of the plants sprouted new leaves, Arya's face lit up with joy. It lives, she said proudly. Ryan smiled. Yes, you gave it care and it grew. She touched the small leaf gently. It feels alive like a heartbeat. Everything living has one, Ryan said. Sometimes we just forget to listen. That evening, they shared a quiet meal. Ryan told her about Earth, about oceans, forests, and mountains that touch the sky. Arya listened with wide eyes. Your world sounds like a dream, she said. It is far from perfect, he replied. But it has beauty worth protecting. Arya looked at him thoughtfully. Maybe one day you can show it to me. Ryan smiled. I would like that. The light in her eyes grew warmer. Then I will hold you to that promise. Later that night, as Ryan wrote in his logbook, he heard soft footsteps. Arya stood at the doorway. I cannot sleep, she said quietly. He looked up. Something bothering you? She hesitated. I had a dream. I saw my home again, but it was fading away. Ryan set down his pen. Dreams can be painful when they remind us of what we lost. Yes, she said softly. But in the dream, there was also light, and a human light. It was strange, but it gave me hope. Ryan smiled gently. Then hold on to that hope. Arya looked at him for a moment, then said, You are the first person who ever made me feel safe. He did not know what to say. His voice came out soft. That means more to me than you think. She gave a faint smile, then walked back to her room. After she left, Ryan sat alone, thinking about her words. He realized that something had changed, not just in her, but in him too. The emptiness he had carried for years was slowly being filled by her presence. It was not love yet, but it was something close, respect, care, and a quiet bond born from shared silence. Outside the window, the stars shone brighter, as if listening. In her room, Arya lay awake, thinking of Ryan's calm voice and gentle eyes. For the first time since her capture, she felt like she belonged somewhere, even if that place was a small ship drifting through endless space. And as she finally closed her eyes, she thought that maybe, just maybe, the stars were watching over them both. A human and an alien girl, learning together that kindness could bridge even the widest distance between worlds. The ship drifted silently through a field of asteroids. The stars twinkled faintly in the distance, but inside the ship, tension hung in the air. Ryan sat at the control panel, checking the navigation system for any signs of danger. Arya moved quietly near the observation window, her glowing eyes scanning every shadow outside. For days they had traveled safely, but both knew the galaxy was unpredictable. Danger could appear without warning. Arya had learned to trust Ryan's calm, but her instincts still whispered caution. Suddenly, the scanner beeped sharply. A ship appeared on the monitor, moving quickly toward them. Its hull was dark and angular, with glowing red stripes that marked it as a patrol vessel. Ryan frowned. I recognize that design, he said quietly. It belongs to the Empire that once captured your people. Arya's eyes narrowed. They are looking for me, she said. I can feel it. They will not stop until they find me. Ryan pressed a few buttons to hail the vessel. This is Rian of the ship Saren. We are passing through neutral space. We do not wish to fight. Please identify yourselves. The response came immediately, harsh and commanding. Saren, you are carrying property belonging to the Empire. Prepare to surrender or you will be boarded. Arya's hands glowed faintly, her energy pulsing with tension. I will not go with them, she said firmly. Ryan looked at her. Neither will I, but we need a plan. We cannot outrun them in this field. The asteroids will damage both ships if we try. Arya stepped closer to the control panel. Then we fight, she said softly. I will help you, Ryan hesitated. I do not want to hurt anyone. Sometimes defending freedom is not harm, she said. It is survival, he nodded slowly. Very well. We will defend ourselves, but only enough to escape. No unnecessary risk. The patrol ship's lights grew brighter on the scanner. They were closing fast. Ryan activated the ship's shields and reinforced the hull energy lines. Arya moved to the side, her eyes glowing more brightly. She placed her hands on the wall, letting energy flow through her fingers, stabilizing the ship's power core in a way only she could. Your people's power, Ryan said quietly. It is stronger than I imagined, she nodded. I only use what is necessary. The enemy ship opened fire first. Bright beams of energy streaked across space toward the Siren. Ryan maneuvered quickly, dodging the attacks weaving between asteroids. Sparks flew as the beams hit rocks and ricocheted. Arya focused. She raised her hands and a wave of energy radiated outward, forming a protective shield around the ship. The enemy beams scattered, unable to penetrate. Ryan's jaw tightened. This is incredible, he said. You are keeping us safe, she did not reply. Her eyes never left the approaching ship. The patrol ship launched boarding drones. Small, fast, metallic creatures zipped through space toward the Siren. Ryan activated the ship's magnetic net to stop them. The drones bounced off, but more were coming. Arya stepped forward. Her hands glowed brighter, and a pulse of energy shot toward the drones. The metal creatures were thrown back, spinning, unable to continue their path. Sparks and light flashed in the cabin as the energy dispersed. You are stronger than I expected, Ryan said. We can do this together. She gave a small nod, her face calm but focused. The patrol ship tried to flank them, moving quickly around the asteroid field. Ryan gritted his teeth. They are trying to trap us. I need you to keep the shield strong. Arya focused all her energy. The shield around the ship flickered with blue light, absorbing the next series of attacks. Ryan moved the ship in a zigzag pattern, avoiding collisions with the largest asteroids. Time passed like a slow heartbeat. Every second counted. Ryan's mind worked quickly, calculating angles, energy flows, and escape routes. Arya's hands never left the controls of her power. She concentrated, feeling the ship's energy lines as if they were part of her own body. Finally, Ryan saw an opening, there between the two larger asteroids. We can slip through, but I need full energy. Arya nodded. I am ready. He pressed the thrusters. The ship surged forward, energy shields glowing as the patrol ship's beams struck the rocks around them. The Siren slipped through the narrow space. The patrol vessel tried to follow but clipped an asteroid. Sparks flew from its hull. It had to stop. Ryan exhaled slowly. We made it, he said quietly. Arya looked at the patrol ship, her chest heaving slightly. They will try again, she said. Then we keep moving, Ryan replied. We are not safe yet, but we survived today. That is enough for now, she nodded. I did not expect to fight so soon. Ryan smiled faintly. Neither did I, but you were ready. That is what matters. For hours they traveled silently, repairing minor damage and restoring the energy shield system. Arya's energy slowly faded and she leaned against the wall to rest. Ryan handed her a cup of water. Drink this. You need strength, he said gently. She took it. I will be fine, she said. But I understand now. Freedom is not without struggle. Yes, Ryan said, but it is worth it. The next morning they reached a calm nebula, a glowing cloud of gas and light. The colors were soft and warm, filling the ship with a peaceful glow. Ryan steered toward it, using its dense clouds to hide from any pursuers. Arya walked to the observation window, her face bathed in the colors. It is beautiful, she said softly. I have never seen anything like this. Ryan stood beside her. It is one of the hidden treasures of the galaxy, he said. Few get to see it. She looked at him, a small smile forming. Then we are lucky. Ryan nodded. Yes, very lucky. For a long time they simply watched the colors shift and swirl. Arya felt her energy return slowly. She turned to Ryan. You fight without anger, she said. You do not seek revenge or glory. I fight to protect, Ryan replied. That is the only reason worth fighting. She nodded thoughtfully. I understand now. That is why I trust you. Ryan smiled gently. Then we will keep going together no matter what comes. Arya looked out the window again. I have always been alone, she said quietly. Even when my people were with me, I felt the weight of fear. Now for the first time, I feel like I am not alone. Ryan placed a hand gently on her shoulder. You are not alone, Arya, and you never will be as long as I am here. She looked at him, her glowing eyes reflecting light from the nebula. Thank you, Ryan, she whispered. They spent the rest of the day navigating through the nebula. The ship's lights cast soft shadows, and the hum of the engines was the only sound. Arya helped Rian with minor repairs, her hands steady and careful. They laughed quietly when small mistakes happened, and for the first time their work felt easy rather than tense. By evening they found a small, hidden station tucked inside a dense asteroid cluster. It was neutral space, away from patrols and empires. Ryan docked the ship carefully and Arya followed him inside. The station was quiet, with few travelers and merchants. Rian helped Arya find a small room for rest. You should sleep, he said. We will need energy for the next leg of our journey. Arya nodded. And you? I will check the ship, he said. We need to be ready for anything. She looked at him for a long moment. You are always ready, Ryan smiled softly. I try, but having you with me makes it easier. Arya's lips curved slightly. Then maybe I am learning too. Ryan left her room quietly, checking every panel and system. He felt a deep sense of calm knowing she was safe. Her courage and strength had helped them survive, but her trust had changed him in ways he could not yet describe. Later, Arya lay on the small bed, staring at the ceiling. She remembered the battle, the patrol ship, and the feeling of energy flowing through her hands to protect Ryan. She had never felt such power used for something good. Not destruction, not fear, but protection. A strange warmth filled her chest. For the first time, she understood that strength was not about fear or domination. It was about caring for others, about standing together against danger. And as she finally closed her eyes, she realized that the bond between her and the human who had saved her was no longer silent. It was strong, unspoken, and unbreakable, a promise that they would face the galaxy together. No matter what storms awaited them, outside the stars glowed peacefully, as if watching two unlikely companions who had found trust and courage in each other. And for the first time, Arya truly felt free. The small neutral station floated quietly among distant asteroids, bathed in the soft glow of a nearby star. Inside, the atmosphere was calm. Traders and travelers moved at a slow pace, and the hum of engines and machines filled the background. Ryan guided the Saren to a docking bay reserved for long-term visitors. Arya watched from the window as the ship touched down gently. She felt a strange sense of relief. For the first time since her capture, she was in a place where no one could take her without permission. The walls of the station were clean and the air smelled faintly of fresh water and warm metal. Ryan turned to her with a smile. We are safe here for now. You can rest or we can explore. The choice is yours. Arya considered the question carefully. I would like to see the station, she said softly. Then we explore, Ryan agreed. They walked through the corridors, passing merchants and travelers of many shapes and sizes. Arya's glowing skin was still partially hidden under a long cloak, but her eyes moved constantly, taking in every detail. She noticed the small gardens growing in containers along the walls, and the children of different species playing together near a fountain of flowing water. This is peaceful, Arya said quietly. It reminds me of my home before the war. Ryan nodded. That is why I brought you here. Somewhere we can be safe, somewhere we can begin again. They stopped at a workshop where a group of engineers repaired small ships. Tools and parts were neatly arranged on tables and the air smelled of oil and metal. Ryan spoke with one of the engineers. We need to repair some systems and gather supplies. Can you help? The engineer smiled. Of course. We welcome all visitors willing to work. Arya stepped forward, curious. May I help? She asked. Rian nodded. You already helped me many times. I think you will do fine here too. She removed her cloak, revealing her silver skin faintly glowing. Some of the engineers paused to look, but Arya did not seem to mind. She approached the workbench, observing the parts carefully. Ryan handed her a small tool and guided her hands, showing her how to adjust delicate wires and energy conduits. Hours passed quickly. Arya's careful movements and natural understanding impressed the engineers. They whispered quietly to each other about her skills. Ryan worked beside her, repairing the Saren and making adjustments to the ship's engines. When they took a break, Ryan and Arya walked to the observation deck. The station overlooked the asteroid field, and the colors of distant stars reflected in the glass walls. Arya leaned against the railing, her face glowing softly in the light. I have never seen so many stars, she said. Each one feels alive, like it watches over everything. Ryan smiled. They are like memories. Each light is a story. Arya looked at him. Then our story is part of these stars now. Yes, Ryan said softly. And we can decide how it continues. They returned to the workshop, helping the engineers finish repairs. As the day ended, Ryan suggested they visit the communal gardens. The plants were a mix of alien and human species, all thriving under careful care. Arya knelt beside one container, gently touching the leaves. It feels alive, she said. Not like plants in a lab, but free. Ryan handed her a small watering device. Then help it grow, she smiled faintly. I will. As they worked together, the other inhabitants of the station began to notice them. Travelers approached, curious about the human and the alien girl. Some asked questions, others offered food or supplies. Arya answered politely, slowly warming to the kindness shown by strangers. By the next day, word had spread about the new arrivals. Some were impressed by Arya's strength and intelligence. Others admired Ryan's calm and patient demeanor. People began to trust them, seeking advice on technical repairs or guidance for navigation through nearby asteroid fields. One morning, a group of young aliens approached Arya. Can you teach us? One asked. We want to learn about energy and growth, Arya smiled. Yes, I will show you. She spent hours teaching the children how to sense energy and focus it to help plants grow. Their laughter filled the garden as Ryan worked nearby, repairing small devices and machines. He watched her patiently, feeling proud of her confidence and leadership. That evening, Ryan and Arya sat quietly on the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly, twinkling like silver lanterns in the dark. You have changed, Arya said softly. Since the auction, I felt lost and alone. Now I feel like I belong. Ryan looked at her. You always had the strength. You just needed a place and someone who believed in you. She tilted her head. And you are that someone? I try, he said. But you give me hope too. Arya's eyes glowed softly. Humans are strange, she said. You can be weak and strong at the same time. You do not always fight with your hands, but you still protect. That is all any of us can do, Ryan replied. They sat in silence for a while, watching the station lights and distant stars. Then Arya spoke again. I want to help others. Not just here, but wherever people need it. Ryan smiled. I thought you might say that. Then we will find ways together. There is more to do, more to protect, more to teach, she nodded. Then this is truly a new beginning. Days passed, and life at the station became routine. Arya taught, Ryan repaired, and both shared quiet moments watching the stars. They explored nearby asteroids, gathering rare minerals for the station and helping travelers who needed assistance. One day, a small group arrived, carrying a damaged ship and frightened travelers. The children who learned from Arya helped calm them. Ryan repaired the ship's systems while Arya guided the travelers to safety. Together, they ensured everyone was cared for. After the work was done, the travelers thanked them. You two have done more than anyone else could, one said. Arya smiled. We only did what was right, Ryan added, and we will continue to do so. That is all that matters. At night, as they returned to the observation deck, Arya stood close to Ryan, looking at the stars. I never imagined a human could be like this, she said softly. Kind and brave, but gentle at the same time. Ryan laughed quietly. I am not perfect, but I try to be better. You have taught me much, she said. Not only about trust, but about hope and courage. About what it means to be free. And you have taught me, Ryan said. That strength is not always force. Sometimes it is patience, kindness, and understanding. They stood together, watching the stars stretch into infinity. The bond between them was no longer silent. It was strong, built on trust, courage, and shared experiences. It was a bond that would guide them through every challenge ahead. Weeks later, the station held a small gathering for new arrivals. Ryan and Arya stood together as travelers of many worlds shared stories, exchanged goods, and learned from one another. Children laughed and played under the glowing lights. Life felt peaceful, even joyful. Arya leaned closer to Ryan. Look at them, she said. So many different lives, all learning to live together. Just like us, Ryan said. We learn together. We survive together. We grow together. She smiled faintly. Then we truly have found a home. Yes, Ryan said softly. A home we choose, not one given by fear or force. That night, Arya and Ryan walked to the edge of the station overlooking the asteroid field. The stars glowed brighter than ever. She looked at him and said quietly, "Humans are capable of great things, Ryan. And maybe the galaxy is capable of good too, if more like you exist." He smiled gently. Then we keep moving forward. We protect, we teach, and we help others. That is how change begins. Arya placed her hand lightly on his arm. Then I will stay by your side, Ryan. As long as you let me. Always, he said. Together they watched the distant stars, feeling the weight of the past lift from them. The auction, the danger, and the fear seemed far away. What remained was hope, trust, and the quiet knowledge that even in a vast, unpredictable galaxy, freedom and kindness could flourish. For the first time since her capture, Arya smiled fully. Not a faint shadow of her past, not a cautious expression, but a real, genuine smile. Ryan looked at her and his own heart felt light. They had survived, learned, and grown, and now they could face whatever the galaxy had in store for them, together. The new beginning was not a single moment. It was every sunrise, every repaired system, every small act of kindness. It was a life chosen freely, shared between two beings from very different worlds. And as the stars continued to shine, Ryan and Arya stood side by side, knowing that their story was only beginning. A story of courage, trust, and the endless possibility of a galaxy that could be changed by the simple choice to protect and care for one another.